Hey guys, what's up? Today I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm going to take a political ideology test. If this does work, you'll see somewhere like right here, you'll see my phone screen, with the quiz questions and everything. I'm just going to answer these questions and see where it puts my political ideology. I identify as a libertarian. Doesn't necessarily mean that's what it's going to say on the quiz. This quiz isn't completely accurate, obviously. The things that I align with might not be on this test, so we'll just see how it goes. I also want to give credit to Parker get a job. This was not my idea. He actually did this. I just thought it'd be interesting to upload on my YouTube for you guys to really just kind of get to know a little bit more about me and my ideology. I'm going to go through all the questions and explain why I'm answering them the way I'm answering them. So, with that being said, let's just get started. If economic globalism is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than be interest of transnational corporations. Yeah, I strongly agree with that. I definitely think that it's important to serve humanity over these large corporations. I mean, obviously, to an extent, maybe I should answer I agree because, like big companies do run the country to an extent. But would say strongly agree that it should help humanity over transnational corporations. I'd always support my country, whether it was right or wrong. I strongly disagree. Like right now, the administration that's in, I strongly disagree with, so I don't support the things that are going on in my country. With that being said, the next question says, no one chooses their country of birth, so it's foolish to be proud of it. I'm going to put strongly disagree. You can be proud to be, like, in the country. Doesn't mean that you have to necessarily, like, be proud of, like, what, you know, the the leaders are doing with the country. I mean, you can be proud to be born in America or wherever it is that you're born. Like, there's no shame in that. Um, our race has many superior qualities compared with other races. I strongly disagree. No one's better than anyone based on race or anything like that. My enemy of my enemy is my friend. I disagree. Um, I'm guessing it's referring to, like, from a country standpoint, like, Iran's enemies are the US's friend, I guess would be a good example. I strongly disagree with that. Well, uh, I'm gonna say I strongly disagree. Military action that defies international law is sometimes justified. I'm going to take this as it's talking about war crimes. I don't think any war crime is justified. Pearl Harbor is a great example. It's always debated. Was the retaliation on Hiroshima justified? I don't think it was. A lot of civilians were killed. I don't think that's justifiable for what they did to Pearl Harbor. Um, I don't think two wrongs make a right. So I'm going to put disagree just for the idea of, like, it could probably entail something else. But from my interpretation, I strongly disagree. But I'm gonna put disagree because I'm sure there's, like, other ways you could look at it that you could sit there and be like, justified, whatever. Um, there's now a worrying fusion of information and entertainment. Um, yeah, I would agree. I definitely think a lot of, like, news outlets and stuff tried to make things more entertaining rather than more informational. Um, obviously, of course, that's how they get their views. That's how everyone gets their views. I would like to say that, like, the information I give on my TikTok and YouTube, I'm not really going for the entertainment factor. I'm more or less trying to be informative. I'm actually gonna put strongly agree though, because I think a lot of news outlets really try to, like, drill their points to be more entertaining than informational. All right, we're gonna go on to the next page. People are ultimately divided more by class than by nationality. Mm, I'm gonna put disagree. Here's why. So I think economically, like, there is a large divide. Um, Like obviously like the billionaires and millionaires are divided from the middle to lower class. I think a big problem that we're having in the country now is like nationality division. Like not quite literal division, but I think mentally like that division is still there. So I'm going to put disagree. I'm not putting strongly disagree because it is a large division economically, but I still think nationality has a much larger division, and it shouldn't be that way. Controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment. It's a tough question because like the two things are very important to the economy. Um, I feel like trying to control unemployment w- isn't necessarily an easy feat. Do I think it's more important than inflation? Probably not. Um, due to the fact that I think the more people that work in the work environment, well, more people that work, I should say, um, just bring more jobs to the country. And I've seen time and time again that unemployment isn't necessarily going down at a rate that's, you know, like shocking. It's not as high of a percentage as inflation is either. And I think um, the more inflation goes up, the more people are gonna have to work like two jobs and stuff like that, and they're just gonna fatigue themselves and make themselves more tired. So with that being said, with all that jumble that I just gave you guys, I'm going to say I agree. Um, because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they require regulation. I I agree. I'm not gonna say strongly disagree because like not all corporations necessarily can't be trusted, but a lot of corporations are that way. I feel like saying strongly agree would be saying that no corporation cares about their people, um, or cares about like the environment rather. There are like very eco-friendly places. My job is one of them. They recycle everything that they don't use. So I have to put agree but not strongly agree. From each according to his ability, to each according to his need is a fundamentally good idea. Fundamentally, yes. Um, I feel like some people's needs are out of their ability. But I think you can achieve each of those things together if you try hard enough. Maybe I'm not reading the question correctly, but that's how I'm interpreting it. So I'm gonna put agree. The freer the market, the freer the people. Um, not in today's world, no. I think we need a um market with regulation. Otherwise we would see a lot of problems within the market. So I'm going to put disagree. I think um, in the right environment and under the right circumstances, yes, it would be freer the people. But I think in today's age, we have to have like a controlled market. It's sad, but it's true. It's a sad reflection on our society that something as basic as drinking water is now a bottled, branded consumer product. Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, it is sad. Yeah, I strongly agree. Land shouldn't be a commodity to be bought and sold. Um, see, it's tough because I see what they're saying. Like, land should be a right, not a privilege. I get that to an extent. It's weird to think in the society that we live in that like that could possibly be something that's like done. I'm I'm going to say agree. Um, Purely for the fact that like I think it would be epic to live in a world where we didn't have to pay for land. Like honestly, that would be nuts. But it would probably never happen in this world. It just wouldn't. But it would be cool to see. It is regrettable that many personal fortunes are made by people who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing to their society. Damn. Um, yeah, I'd agree with that. I actually, I strongly agree with that. And going back to like the last question, um, I'm thinking about now, and by saying that, like, I think it would cause a lot of room for like, squabble within people. So I'm actually going to move my answer to disagree. Because if land is just like free grabs and like, like everyone has the ability to have it, I feel like some people will get greedy and cause that to be a problem. Protectionism is sometimes necessary in trade. While I don't while I don't strongly agree, I think it is important to promise protection, like for bigger countries, like from bigger countries like the United States, we promise protection throughout like a lot of like different things, in like exchange for trade. So I mean, I think it's important to protect people that trade with you. So I'm gonna put agree. I'm not gonna put strongly agree because I feel like dangling that over someone's head is kind of fucked up. But I mean, I get why it's a tool that's used. The only social responsibility of a company should be to deliver a profit to its shareholders. I disagree. I mean, I with public companies that have shareholders, I mean, obviously it's important to keep your shareholders happy. Of course. But it's also to make sure that your people are happy that you're working with, well, that like your employees are happy, making sure morale's high, making sure the company's still successful. Because if the company isn't successful and you're just giving all the profits to the shareholders, there's going to be no business. So I disagree. The rich are too highly taxed. Strongly disagree. They should be taxed a hell of a lot more. Um, those with the ability to pay should have access to higher standards of medical care. I disagree, but healthcare should be free, so I'm just gonna put disagree. Um, I don't think people that have the ability to pay should be held to a higher standard than like the middle or lower class. I'm actually gonna put strongly disagree now. I'm thinking about it further. Government should penalize businesses that mislead the public. I agree 110%. There are a lot of companies that mislead people to buy their product, and then whenever people buy the product and it doesn't work, they just pull the rug out from under them and be like, sorry, you bought it. Whatever. The government should hold those people responsible. 110%. A genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of a predator multinationals to create monopolies. English is hard. Uh, Back to the free market thing. It's challenging to understand that idea because you have to live in an environment with a free market to understand how that would work. But I would agree, multinationals creating monopolies, there should be restrictions for that reason. Abortion, when the woman's life is not threatened, should always be illegal. I disagree. I'm pro-choice, obviously, so I disagree. Actually, I strongly disagree. Women should have the right to their abortion. Whether or not I think it's justifiable, I cannot say due to the fact that, like, I'm not a woman, like, I, well, actually, I take that back. I misworded what I said. Um, the woman should have the life to her body. Well, should have the right to her body. Whether or not I think it's justifiable or not isn't it doesn't really matter. It's not my body, doesn't necessarily affect me. My life standards with abortion are different, however. So like my personal beliefs versus what I think is right and wrong are two totally different things. Morally, I think the woman should have the right over her body, and if she doesn't want to have the baby, she shouldn't have to. All authority should be questioned. Yes, I strongly agree. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Um, two wrongs don't make a right. I'm gonna put disagree because I mean, you could sit there and say like, oh, well, someone committed a crime, so they should be punished for said crime. But I don't think if someone steals, they should have their arm cut off because, they stole. Nothing like that. It's ridiculous. So I'm just gonna put disagree. Two wrongs don't make a right. Taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theaters or museums that cannot survive on a commercial basis. Ooh, this is actually interesting. Um, I don't think we should hold memorials for places that can't bring in any more money, if that makes sense. So I'm going to agree. I feel like our tax dollars could go on more important things, honestly. Um, Schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory. Um, so under the idea of it being compulsory, meaning that like it's required, I think it's important to have it like required. Actually, I strongly disagree. It's important to know that the kids are in the classroom. I think that's kind of a ridiculous thing. All people have their rights, but it better for all of us that different sorts of people should keep their own kind. Ah, I strongly disagree. I think that's what makes America great is that like different sorts of people shouldn't have to stick to their own kind. That's ridiculous to say. That's outrageous to say, in fact. Good parents sometimes have to spank their children. I disagree. I mean, I'm not going to put strongly disagree. Obviously, I don't have kids, so I don't necessarily know how I would raise my kids. But spanking isn't necessary. It doesn't make you a good or a bad parent. So I'm just going to put disagree. It's natural for children to keep some secrets from their parents. Of course it is. I strongly agree. I mean, I've kept secrets from my parents. I think everyone watching this video has. It might not always be the best thing or the best idea, but it's just something that we do. Possessing, ooh, I don't know if I can say that out loud. For personal use should not be a criminal offense. I agree. Um, I think with the intent to sell is a bad thing. But I don't think possessing it. Well, it says possessing for personal use, so I'm just gonna put strongly agree. It should not be a criminal offense, honestly. In a lot of states, it's not. So, you know. The prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generation to find jobs. I couldn't possibly agree more. And it should be more oriented towards that, but it's not. People with serious inheritable disabilities should not be allowed to reproduce. Oh my god. Okay, so mm, I watched Parker's video and he like he made a very controversial claim and I'm right with him on it. Um but I'm not as extreme. I think it depends on the inheritable disability. If it's life-threatening and it's something that, might like shorten the child's life or make them suffer in like a serious, like awful way, I would sit there and say like, no, they shouldn't be able to reproduce. However, there are some people with inheritable disabilities that, can function in society. So I'm going to put disagree, but in some minute cases, I would agree that they shouldn't. The most important thing for children to learn is to accept discipline. Um, the most important thing for children to learn is to accept discipline. No, honestly, like, that's kind of like outrageous. I think there's a lot of things that they should learn that are important. Discipline shouldn't be the most important thing. I think the most important thing for them to learn would be to be functioning members in society, be able to communicate well, you know. And I think communication is probably the most important thing for a child to learn. Good communication. At that, good communication. There are no savage and civilized peoples. There are only different cultures. Oh, but that rubber band only stretches so far. Um, I'm going to say agree. I'm not going to say I strongly agree. Within that culture, for them to think like something's right and like wrong, like that's up to them. Um, like whether or not I would consider it savage, like the rubber band stretches so far with that. Um, I'm only going to put agree. In extreme cases, I think there are some things that are just out there. I probably shouldn't put agree. I should probably put disagree, but like there's so many cases that you could go with it. So those who are able to work and refuse the opportunity should not expect society's support. Um, I agree. I feel like if they refuse the opportunity, like society shouldn't have to support them. I think people who can't work and are unable to, should reap those benefits more than people that refuse to work. When you are troubled, it's better not to think about, but to keep busy with more cheerful things. I disagree. Um, I think you should talk to someone. I think you should work through it. I don't think trying to distract yourself is necessarily always the healthiest thing to do. First generation immigrants can never be fully integrated within their new country. I strongly disagree. I think they should be able to be fully integrated. I don't see why not. What's good for the most successful corporations is always ultimately good for all of us. Strongly disagree. No broadcasting institution, however independent its content, should receive public funding. Yeah, I agree. I don't really need to touch much on that. Our civil liberties are being excessively curbed in the name of counterterrorism. Here's the thing. They are being curbed, but in the name of counterterrorism, I don't know. That's a bit of a reach, so I'm gonna put disagree. It's just a bit of a reach for me. A significant advantage of a one-party state is that it avoids all the arguments and delay progress in a democratic political system. Um, I guess that would be an advantage, but that's not always a good thing. Um, So I'm going to put disagree. I'm not going to put strongly disagree because it is true it would make the process go faster, but I think it's important for communities to argue back and forth and decide what's best for the community. Although the electronic age makes official surveillance easier, only wrongdoers need to be worried. Um, Yeah, I'd agree. I would agree with that. I mean, I think some people are worried about it because it's like personal information. Um, and they don't really like that. But really, the wrongdoers are the only ones that need to be like truly worried. The death penalty should be an option for the most serious crimes. Strongly disagree. Two wrongs don't make a right. Once again, that's the quote of the day. In a civilized society, one must always have people above to be obeyed. and people below to be commanded. Disagree. We should all be at the same level, regardless. Even in jobs like yeah, obviously like you're going to have a boss and they're going to tell you how to do things, but they should respect you with the same amount of respect, not like you're a peon below them. Um, in some cases, like I guess you could make the argument, but I just disagree. Abstract art that doesn't represent anything shouldn't be considered art at all. No, I disagree. I think abstract art's actually pretty cool. Um, it's unique. Like, it's still art in my opinion. And criminal justice punishment should be more important than rehabilitation. I disagree. I think rehabilitation is more important than punishment. I'm actually going to put strongly disagree. I think we should help those people that have made those mistakes get better and be better people. It is a waste of time to try to rehabilitate some criminals. Ultimately, you could say that, but I think we should still try, so I'm gonna put disagree. The business person and the manufacturer are more important than the writer and the artist. No, I disagree. I don't really need to explain why. I don't think mothers may have careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers. No, I mean, I disagree. If a woman wants to be a homemaker, she can be a homemaker. If she wants to have a career, she can have a career. Some women just, well, it says mothers. Um, yeah, I'm still gonna put disagree. I think if like they want to worry about their career, they shouldn't have to be homemakers per se. Men can be homemakers too. Almost all politicians promise economic growth, but we should heed the warnings of climate science that growth is detrimental to our efforts to curb global warming. Um, yeah, I would agree. I mean, I definitely think it is detrimental for sure, and more people should be worried about global warming. Um, I mean, like it's just an obvious thing. Making peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity. Um, yeah, yeah, I'd say so. Um, I don't think it's the most important thing to maturity, but I definitely think it is an important aspect to understand. Making peace with the establishment is important. Astrology accurately explains many things. Disagree. Yeah, actually, I'm gonna put strongly disagree. You cannot be moral without being religious. Strongly disagree. Charity is better than social security as a means of helping genuinely disadvantaged. This, uh, uh, ooh, oh God. And the reason why I put disagree is because I think Social Security is important, is better than Social Securities as a mean of helping genuinely disadvantaged. I would slightly agree with. Some people are naturally unlucky. Yeah. Um, it is important that my child's school instills religious values. No, I strongly disagree, and I would fight the school board if the school board ever tried to drill religion into my kid. Sex outside marriage is usually immoral. Disagree. Not a religious person, so same-sex couple is a stable, loving relationship should not be excluded from the possibility of child adoption. Strongly agree. Pornography, consenting adults should be legal for the adult population. Yeah, if it's depicting consenting adults, why not? What goes on in a private bedroom between consenting adults is no business of the state. Strongly agree. No one can feel naturally homosexual. Disagree. Actually, I strongly disagree. These days, openness about sex has gone too far. Um, I disagree to an extent. Um, I think going around the workplace talking about like what you do in your sex life is weird. However, I think being open with your partner, about the things that you two like, that is perfectly fine. I have no problem with that at all whatsoever. So I'm just gonna put disagree. Now let's see where we stand. Okay, so it says, that I do lean on the left, in the social scale. I am towards the libertarian side. Um, this probably says I'm about social democrat. Um, like, um, it's not entirely accurate. It's interesting that I'm not as libertarian as I thought. I think a lot of these questions were kind of more about social issues, which it makes sense that has me leaning more on the left than in the middle. I think a lot of these questions were kind of challenging, and maybe I didn't interpret them all the right way. With that being said, though, I'm not um, super surprised at the results I got. Um, I still think I'm a libertarian. This definitely is probably leaning me more towards like the social democrat side, as I said before. But like as far as how government should be ran, I do hold conservative values, which is why I consider myself a libertarian. Um, so yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Maybe in the future I'll do more videos like this. Um, I want to set a light goal, but like I've only made one other video, so I don't think that's necessary right now. Um, I hope you guys enjoy it. If you did, subscribe, like the video, and I do political debates on weekends on TikTok. My TikTok is linked. I will link it in the video as well. You guys should go check it out. And if you disagree with some of the things that I talk about, you should definitely come up and debate me. All right, guys, thank you.